close your eyes. Imagine you are standing in a room you've spent years decorating. You picked the colors, you arranged the furniture, you lit the candles, you made it warm, you made it a home, and in the center of that room, there is someone you love. You are speaking to them. You are sharing your day, your fears, your dreams, but they don't look up. They are looking at a screen or a book or just staring at a wall. You speak louder, nothing. You start to dance, you start to cry, you start to make noise just to prove you exist in the same physical space. And still, silence. The most painful thing in the world isn't being hated. Hate is an emotion. Hate is energy. The most painful thing is being ignored. It is the slow, cold realization that you have become invisible in your own home. It is the sound of your own voice echoing back at you because there is no heart on the other side to catch the words. You feel like a ghost haunting your own life. But listen to me, the reason it hurts so much is because you have tied your visibility to their vision. You are asking a person who has closed their eyes to tell you how beautiful the light is. Stop. The price of ignoring you isn't something you tell them, it's something they feel. It's the sudden chill in the room when the person who provided all the warmth finally walks out the door. You think that by staying and trying harder, you are showing your worth. But worth is not a negotiation. Worth is a realization. When you stay in a space where you are ignored, you aren't being loyal, you are being an accomplice to your own disappearance. There is a divine strength in the feet that know when to walk. There is a sacred power in the heart that says, I love you, but I love the God in me more than the ghost in you. You've been terrified that if you walk away, you'll be alone, but you are already alone. The only difference is when you walk away, you take your light with you. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about a game. This is about the master designer reclaiming a masterpiece from a gallery that refused to hang it on the wall. The silence you leave behind will be the loudest thing they've ever heard. It will be the echo of everything they took for granted. Breathe. The door is not locked from the outside. You have the key. You've always had the key. It's time to stop screaming at the wall and start walking toward the sun. You are not losing a shadow. You are gaining your soul. We live in a world that tells us to fight for love. We are told that giving up is a sign of weakness. But I want to challenge that today. I want to tell you that the most powerful move you can ever make is to stop fighting for a seat at a table where you aren't being served. When a man ignores you, he is giving you a data point. He is telling you exactly how much of your magic he is capable of containing. And if that amount is 0, then your presence there is a waste of a miracle. In this session, I am going to show you why your walkaway power is the only thing that can reset the value of your soul in your own eyes. If you stay until the end, I'm going to reveal the 3 psychological shifts that happen when you stop explaining and start exiting, and how that silence becomes the ultimate teacher for the one who thought you would never leave. Most people think that to teach someone a lesson, you have to use words, but words are the very thing he has stopped valuing. When you apply the psychological shift of absence, you stop the noise. You remove the safety net of your availability. You see, he ignores you because he can. He ignores you because he believes that no matter how long he stays silent, you will be there when he decides to look up. When you reclaim your walkaway power, you change the gravity of the relationship. You move from being a constant in his life to being a possibility. And eventually, you move to being a memory. But the goal isn't to make him regret it. The goal is to make you remember yourself. You are not a backup plan. You are not a maybe. You are a once-in-a-lifetime soul. It's time to stop paying the price for his silence and start making him pay the price for your absence. Gemini said, the psychological shift of absence is a profound realization that your presence can only be truly valued if it is seasoned with the possibility of its withdrawal. We often live with the mistaken belief that the more we give, the more we stay, and the more we endure, the more the other person will eventually realize our worth. We think that by being a constant, unwavering light in their life, even when they refuse to look at us, we are proving our loyalty. But in the psychology of human interaction, constant availability often breeds a subconscious form of contempt, or at the very least, a deep-seated complacency. When a man ignores you, it is usually because he has developed a safety illusion. He believes that your presence is a fixed utility, like the air in the room or the ground beneath his feet. He doesn't see the air until he struggles to breathe, and he doesn't see the ground until it shakes. By being always accessible, always responding to the bare minimum, and always waiting for him to choose you, you have inadvertently taught him that there is no cost to his silence. You have removed the stakes from the relationship. The shift occurs the moment you realize that your presence is a gift, not a given. This is not about playing a game of being busy or pretending to be unbothered. It is an internal recalibration where you stop placing your emotional energy in a space where it isn't being reciprocated. When you withdraw that energy, not out of anger, but out of a calm self-respect, you disrupt the gravity of his world. Suddenly, the utility he took for granted is gone. The psychological impact of a sudden dignified absence is far more powerful than 1,000 words of complaint. Words are noise, absence is a void, and the human mind is designed to notice a void far more acutely than it notices a constant. When you stop providing the emotional labor of the relationship, he is forced to sit in the silence you've left behind. In that silence, he can no longer blame your nagging or your emotionality for his discomfort. He is left only with his own choices. This shift is vital for your own psyche as well. It transitions you from the seeker to the sovereign. You are no longer auditioning for a role in his life. You are the director of your own. You begin to understand that if your presence doesn't add value to his life, then your absence should at least provide him with the clarity he's been avoiding. This isn't about punishing him, it's about protecting the sanctity of your time. You are reclaiming the hours you spent waiting for a text, the mental energy you spent wondering what you did wrong, and the heart space you reserved for a ghost. By choosing to be absent from a place where you are ignored, you are finally becoming present to yourself. You are teaching him the highest price of all, the loss of access to your soul. You are signaling to the universe that you are no longer available for one-sided connections. This shift is the foundation of your power because it proves that you are willing to walk alone rather than be ignored in company. You are finally recognizing that a seat at the table is only worth having if the person across from you is actually present. Your absence is not a hole, it is a boundary of gold. You are choosing to be found by someone who doesn't need to lose you to know your value. The realization that the price of someone ignoring you is actually your own self-investment is the ultimate psychological flip that moves you from a place of victimhood to a place of absolute victory. When we are ignored by someone we care about, our natural wounded reaction is to try to send them a bill. We want them to feel the cost of their silence through our anger, our social media posts, or our long, heartfelt explanations of how much they are hurting us. We think that by showing them the debt they owe us in attention and care, they will suddenly realize their deficit and pay up. But the truth of human nature is that you cannot force someone to value a currency they have already decided to stop using. If he is ignoring you, he has already devalued your presence in his mind. Therefore, trying to make him pay with your emotions is like trying to spend money in a country that doesn't recognize your gold. The real price of him ignoring you is not a punishment you inflict on him. It is the total and immediate withdrawal of your light, which you then redirect entirely toward your own evolution. Think of your energy, your attention, and your love as a high-value investment fund. Up until now, you have been pouring that capital into a stock that is crashing, hoping that if you just invest a little more, the market will turn around. But the wise investor knows when to cut their losses. When you walk away powerfully, you are divesting from his drama and investing in your own empire. This is what truly confuses and eventually haunts the person who ignored you. They expected your energy to stay tied up in them, even if it was negative energy. They expected you to stay on the hook, waiting, wondering, and wanting when they look up and realize that not only are you gone, but you are thriving, growing, and shining in ways that have nothing to do with them. They realize the true magnitude of what they lost. You haven't just left the room, you've taken the sun with you. You are taking the hours you used to spend analyzing his silence and using them to build your health, your career, your friendships, and your spiritual depth. You are taking the tears and using them to water your own garden. This redirection of energy is the most expensive thing he will ever experience, because he no longer has access to the version of you that cared enough to be hurt. You are becoming a person who is fundamentally unbuyable by his breadcrumbs of attention. This shift changes your internal chemistry. You move from a state of lack, constantly checking your phone for a deposit of his attention, to a state of abundance, realizing that you are the bank. You start to see that your worth was never tied to his ability to see it. It was always there waiting for you to see it. By investing in yourself, you are setting a new market value for your soul. You are teaching the world and any future partner exactly what it costs to have a seat at your table. It costs consistency. It costs respect. It costs presence. If those aren't being paid, the service of your soul is simply no longer available. This is not a game of revenge. It is a business decision for your spirit. You are finally realizing that your life is too short to be spent in the waiting room of someone else's indecision. You are moving your accounts to a higher institution, your own divine purpose. You are no longer an option. You are an achievement. You have realized that the best way to teach him the price of ignoring you is to become so invested in yourself that you eventually forget he was even holding the debt. You are free, you are focused, and you are finally worth your own weight in gold. Walking away powerfully begins as an internal move long before your feet ever cross the threshold of a door, because true liberation is a mental decoupling from the need for external validation. We often think of walking away as a physical act, packing a bag, blocking a number, or leaving a room. But if the mind is still tethered to the why, and the heart is still begging for a backward glance, you haven't truly left. You are just standing in a different location. The real power move is the quiet internal decision that your worth is no longer up for debate or negotiation. It is the moment you stop waiting for him to realize he ignored a diamond and you start realizing that you were the one holding the jewel all along. This internal shift is what changes the energetic signature of the relationship. When you are emotionally coupled to someone, they can feel your pull. They can sense your desperation, your hope, and your waiting. It acts like an invisible leash that gives them the comfort to continue their silence because they know exactly where you are. But when you perform this internal move, you cut the leash. You stop checking the phone with a racing heart. You stop rehearsing the things you would say if he finally called. You stop looking for your reflection in his indifferent eyes. This is the ultimate confusion for the person who is ignoring you. They expect to feel your energetic tug, but instead they meet a void. They find that the space you once occupied in their periphery has gone cold. You have reclaimed your spirit and brought it back into your own body. This internal decoupling is a sacred act of self-allegiance. It is the practice of telling your own heart, I will no longer leave you alone in a room with someone who doesn't see you. It is the process of gathering up all the fragments of your attention that you scattered at his feet and placing them back onto your own path. You start to realize that walking away isn't a reaction to his behavior. It is an action taken for your own survival. It is the recognition that you cannot breathe in an atmosphere of neglect. When the move is made internally first, the physical exit becomes effortless. You aren't storming out in a fit of rage, which is just another form of attachment. You are bowing out with a sense of grace and finality. You are moving from a state of how could he to a state of I am done. This internal move is what gives you walk-away power. It is the knowledge that you are a complete ecosystem on your own. You don't need his presence to feel alive, and you don't need his attention to feel beautiful. You are anchoring your identity in your own values, your own goals, and your own divine connection. By the time you actually leave, you have already traveled miles away from him. In your mind, you have already started building the new version of your life where his silence is just background noise from a previous chapter. You are no longer a satellite orbiting his ego. You are a sun in your own right. This is the moment you realize that the most important person you ever needed to walk toward was yourself. You are finally giving yourself the loyalty you tried so hard to give to a ghost. You are stepping into a future where your presence is a privilege and your absence is a consequence. You are no longer waiting for a seat at his table because you have realized you own the entire building. You are home. Breaking the illusion of safety is the psychological catalyst that shifts the entire landscape of a relationship from one of neglect to one of profound accountability. When a man ignores you, he isn't usually acting out of a desire to lose you. He is acting out of the comfortable, arrogant assumption that he never will. He has built an internal safety net made of your past forgiveness, your consistent availability, and your visible desire for his attention. This illusion of safety is what allows him to deprioritize you. It is the subconscious belief that you are a permanent fixture in his life, a piece of furniture that will be exactly where he left it, when he finally decides to walk back into the room. By staying, by pleading, or by simply waiting in a state of visible hurt, you are reinforcing that safety net. You are confirming his bias, that his silence carries no real risk. But when you master the power of walking away, you don't just leave, you remove the floor beneath his ego. You shatter the illusion that your love is an unconditional subscription service that he can stop paying for while still enjoying the benefits. This is where the true confusion begins for him. The mind of the one who ignores you is calibrated to your noise, your complaints, your checking in, your we need to talk energy. When that noise suddenly turns into a profound, dignified silence, it creates a psychological vacuum. The safety net is gone, and for the first time he has to face the gravity of his own choices. He realizes that he wasn't winning a game of power, he was losing a person of value. This realization can only happen in the absence of your presence. You cannot teach someone the value of what they have while you are still desperately trying to give it to them. You have to take it off the table. This breaking of the safety illusion is not a manipulation, it is a restoration of the natural law of consequences. It is the moment you stop being a safety net for his poor behavior and start being a sanctuary for your own self-respect. You are essentially telling him and the universe that your energy is a high-stakes environment. It is not a playground where he can come and go as he pleases without regard for the gates. By removing the safety of your presence, you are forcing him to confront the reality of a life without your light, your support, and your unique magic. This shift is equally transformative for you. It moves you from a place of hopeful waiting to a place of purposeful moving. You begin to see that the safety you were trying to provide for him was actually a cage for you. You were keeping yourself small so he could feel secure in his neglect. When you break that illusion, you breathe for the first time in months. You realize that you don't need to be his safety, you need to be your own certainty. You are no longer interested in being the person who stays no matter what. You are interested in being the person who stays only where there is a mutual recognition of worth. This is the ultimate reclamation of your inner power. You are no longer a constant that can be ignored. You are a rarity that must be honored. You have realized that the most dangerous place for your soul to be is in the comfort zone of someone who has forgotten how to cherish you. You are stepping out into the unknown, which is far safer than a known neglect. You are finally free, shifting your perspective from the agonizing question of why he isn't choosing you to the powerful conviction that you are choosing a life where you are seen is the moment you transform rejection into a selective filter for your future. When we are ignored, we tend to shrink. We look at ourselves through the lens of the person who is overlooking us, and we begin to wonder if we are too much, or perhaps not enough, or simply not the right kind of light for their specific darkness. We treat their silence like a verdict on our value, a courtroom where they are the judge and we are the defendant pleading for a sliver of their attention. But the power of personal standards is the realization that you are not on trial, they are. Every time someone ignores you, they are providing you with essential data about their capacity to handle a high-level soul. If they cannot meet your gaze, if they cannot respond to your heart, if they cannot prioritize your presence, they are simply showing you that they do not have the bandwidth for the frequency you are operating on. A personal standard is a spiritual boundary that says, I am no longer available to be an option for someone who is not a certainty for me. It is the act of taking the crown you tried to place on their head and putting it back on your own. When you walk away powerfully, you aren't just leaving a man, you are leaving a version of yourself that was willing to settle for breadcrumbs. You are deciding that your life is a sacred space, and the entry fee for that space is consistency, respect, and visibility. This is what truly confuses the ego of the one who ignored you. They expected you to stay in the waiting room of their life, hoping to be called. When they look back and see that the waiting room is empty because you've gone off to build your own palace, it shatters their sense of control. But more importantly, it builds your sense of character. You start to see rejection not as a wall, but as a redirection toward people who don't need to be convinced of your magic. You are essentially using their silence as a filter to strain out the noise of the wrong people so you can finally hear the music of the right ones. This shift moves you from a state of needing to a state of selecting. You are no longer a person who is up for grabs by anyone who shows a passing interest. You are a person with a standard that must be met. This is the ultimate reclamation of your inner power. You are teaching the world how to handle you by demonstrating how you handle yourself. You are realizing that you would rather be alone in your own dignity than lonely in someone else's neglect. You are anchoring your worth in the divine truth that you are created with intention, and therefore you deserve to be treated with intention. Every step you take away from someone who ignores you is a step toward a version of yourself that is unshakable. You are finally giving yourself the grace of a life where you don't have to scream to be heard or dance to be seen. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be before you started seeking your reflection in eyes that were closed. You are the architect of your own atmosphere. You are finally home within yourself, and the view is magnificent. You have realized that your worth is not a negotiation, it is a fact. You are free.